If you are a Rekordbox user on a creative or a professional plan, you can let Rekordbox analyze your tracks for cues automatically. How useful those cues are open for debate. However, if you want to use this option, you can enable it under the Rekordbox Preferences, under the Analysis tab, the cue analysis, and there you can decide how you want those cues to be set. The problem is that once those cues are part of your Rekordbox collection, it is impossible to get rid of them. And it will cause issues because you cannot set your own cues anymore because there is no room for it. You need to remove the auto analysis cues and then you can set your own cues again. Not anymore. I enabled the Rekordbox Collection Tool so it can automatically remove those auto analysis cues and it recognizes those cues by its name. All those cues are named cue auto between brackets and the same for the memory cues. I did some memory cues right here and you can see that all those cues are named cue auto, and now you can remove those automatically without removing cues that are named differently. So the cues that have no name at all because you set them yourself, or maybe you renamed some of the auto analysis cues because you find them helpful. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let's take the Martin Garrix track and let's go to one of the hot cues and let's say we find this a very useful one. Then let's change the name to keep this and let's change the name to this one to nothing at all, and let's change the colors so we know that we changed them so they are easy to identify, and let's do the same in the Lola Young track, and then those are memory cues as you can see, and let's set a loop right at the start of the track, remove this one and then switch that loop to memory so you can see the loop right there, and let's change the name of one of the hot cues, make it pink because it's Lola Young, and let's not name it at all. And I like to give my tracks a color so I know which ones I modified, but that will be easy to find later on. As always, this is led up by a playlist. And if you start the Rekordbox Collection Tool for the first time, it will create this Rekordbox Collection Tool playlist folder, and within it you find playlists, and the new playlist is called Remove the Auto Analysis Cues in these tracks. Now RCT will only process the tracks that are in this particular playlist, so everything else is totally safe, and I always recommend you to experiment a little bit with just a few tracks before you dive all in. You can just take a few tracks and put them inside that Remove Auto Analysis playlist, and then after you find the results useful, then you can use it. I quit Rekordbox here and I start up the Rekordbox Collection Tool. In RCT the new function is under the Heal collection, and you find it here, process 32 tracks in the playlist Remove Auto Analysis Cues. This is only available if there are tracks in that particular playlist, and otherwise that option is not available. RCT starts up Rekordbox automatically, and you can see that there is now a processed folder inside my Rekordbox collection, and you see the successful cue auto removal. And if you go to that Martin Garrix track and you watch the hot cues, you see that the cues that we renamed are still there, and the same for the Lola Young track. If we load it up and we go to the memory cues, you can see that the loop and the memory cue that we renamed are still there, and everything else has been cleared from the collection. This system works perfectly fine with Cloud Sync enabled, and this is basically all I can tell you about removing auto analysis cues from a Rekordbox collection the quick way. MixMaster G signing off.